Welcome back. Let's bring in our panel right now. With us today, former state party chair for the Indiana Democrats, Robin Winston, along with 2016 vice chair for the Indiana Trump campaign, Tony Samuel, and two former state reps with us today as well, former Democratic Representative Terry Austin and former Republican Representative Mike Murphy. Mike, I'll start with you. Congress now staring down this threat of a government shutdown October 1st, and also this week Speaker McCarthy calling for an impeachment inquiry, though not everyone agrees with the way the Speaker is approaching all of this.
Well, I think, first of all, they're separate, but they're not separate, because nothing is ever completely separated in Washington. So there's a lot of, I'm sure, things going on in the background that, you and I don't even know about. But what I'm amazed at is how, compliant, even though Matt Gaetz says the Speaker has not been compliant, how compliant the Speaker has been. He's running scared, and he's not a very strong leader at all. And so we'll see what happens. I think it's too early to tell, but I really don't see them coming for a impeachment vote if they don't have the evidence. That would be embarrassing and would actually help Biden.
Terry, if there is an impeachment proceeding, or for that matter, a government shutdown, what will the impact be practically and politically here ahead of 2024?
Well, I think voters won't forget, because shutdowns are not popular with voters, and they will punish those who they believe caused the shutdown, because people suffer during a shutdown. Checks are delayed, the economy stops for a while, and I think that people need to think long and hard before they ever get to that point.
Tony, speaking of the economy, I want to get your perspective on all of this, and also the impact of this UAW strike, which could certainly have a big impact practically and perhaps politically as well.
Sure. On the impeachment, remember, it's an impeachment inquiry, and that is allowing the House Republican Judiciary Committee to look into more, to get more evidence by subpoena powers, looking at bank records. There's all kinds of what they're saying is evidence of the Bidens taking money from foreign interests, from Burisma for one, but other countries as well. And that's what they need to get to the bottom of, whether that money leads to Joe Biden. It looks like it does. They'll look at tax records. So that's going to happen. I don't think that the October 1 deadline will get in the way, because if the government shuts down, they can't move forward with the impeachment inquiry. So right now they're just gaining evidence to see if there would be an impeachment. On the UAW, the main problem for the auto workers is Bidenomics, Bidenflation. They're being hit so hard, just like we all are, by higher prices and Biden's policies to increase electric vehicles and shut down gas-powered vehicles. That's going to hurt them. And so, I'm rooting for the workers to get more out of it, but they're being hurt by their own president's economy.
Robin, what's your view on all this from across the aisle?
Let's go to UAW first. There are towns like Muncie, Anderson, Richmond, Newcastle, Kokomo that are based on UAW retirees in this state. They are going to be paying a lot of attention to these debates. Executives, one guy, 229% increase in his salary. The union workers not getting that, and the union workers are building the cars that he's touting are being made by these companies serviced by the UAW. So that's one that we ought to keep in mind. On the shutdown and the inquiry, I thought these guys were going to Washington to change things. I thought they were going to address energy crisis. I thought they were going to support Ukraine. Seems like they're just going to keep up the same gridlock, and they now are alligators in the swamp they talked about.
Let's talk about the race for governor here as well. All five of the leading Republican candidates were on stage together this past week in Hamilton County, including Senator Mike Braun, who this week, by the way, endorsed Jim Banks for his current seat in the Senate. And while Braun seems to have the most name ID here, Mike, amongst the candidates, he certainly hasn't cleared this field by any means. This is going to be quite a primary.
I think you're right. Nobody's afraid of anybody. Everybody keeps jumping in. We may see more jump in before February. If the vote were held today, Mike Braun would win. He's so far ahead in name ID. He's got so much of the establishment with him, so to speak. Chambers put $5 million of his own money last weekend. I think he'll have to spend $25 million of his own money if he wants to catch up to Braun.
Terry, what do you think are going to be the issues that matter most to voters here in Indiana when it comes to next year's race for governor?
I think it's going to be the economy. I think it's going to be continued government overreach. Certainly that's something that I'm hearing from people, not just in my own district, but when I talk to people across the state. They really believe that the General Assembly and, Governor Holcomb has not been exactly strong in this area. He's kind of let the General Assembly run roughshod that people feel like state government's out of control.
Tony, what do you think? What issues will matter most to voters next year?
For the Republican primary, which is primarily what we're talking about, the economy, of course, and also government efficiency, transparency, cutting costs where we can. And one issue would be the federal dollars that have come in from all of these federal acts. I know Suzanne Crouch is looking at being a former auditor and also having all kinds of other state government experience. She's the best, I think, to handle that kind of issue.
And Robin, let's also talk about the municipal elections coming up this fall. Brian Howey this past week counting 39 different mayoral races that are uncontested this year, just 4 years after Republicans won 70% of the mayor's offices around the state. He called it, quote unquote, atrophy in the Democratic Party, in his words. What's your response to that? And what are the races that you're watching closely this cycle?
Let him come with us to Michigan City and Terre Haute and go to communities that are like, for example, young candidates are doing great jobs. People like Dave Kitchell coming back in Logansport. Those races are competitive, and the one right here is competitive. So, I don't always agree with what somebody says from the sidelines. Here's what I'd say about the mayoral races. They're local, they're grassroots, and they're door knocking and their yard signs. And that's what you're going to see happen in the next 50 days or so.
Mike, what are you watching for here in the municipal elections coming up?
Well, I would say I'm watching the mayor's race here in Indianapolis very closely. I think Shreve will, I don't know if he'll win or not, he'll come closer than anybody else has come in a long time to beat a Democrat. He's made some mistakes, but he also has the factor of most people are saying anybody but Hogsett, and I think Shreve will benefit from that.
All right, we've got to leave it there. Coming up next, remembering Governor Frank O'Bannon's life and legacy 20 years after his death. My interview with former First Lady Judy O'Bannon straight ahead.